Hey everyone, and welcome to Divine Echoes, the podcast where timeless stories meet modern ears. Today, we begin a journey through the life of Lord Krishna, the beloved, mischievous, wise, and divine avatar of Lord Vishnu.
I've always known Krishna as the playful boy who stole butter and the charioteer in Mahabharata, but I've never heard the full story from the beginning.
Then you're in for a divine adventure, because the story of Krishna doesn't start with his birth. It begins much earlier, with a tyrant king, a terrifying prophecy, and a celestial plan to restore Dharma.
Okay, let's dive in. Welcome everyone to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at some really fascinating source material you've shared, getting into the dramatic origins of, well, a truly central figure in mythology. We're not actually starting with the big arrival itself, but more the intense lead-up, the forces and events that sort of made this legendary birth necessary.
Exactly. This material really takes us right back to the beginning, It sets the whole stage. Our goal here is basically to unpack this first chapter, pull out the key events, understand why they matter according to these sources, and give you a clear picture of how this huge story kicks off.
Right. So our journey starts in the ancient city of Mathura. And the ruler there, at this point in the story, is King Kamsa. The accounts don't just say he's king, they really paint a picture, don't they?
Oh.
Powerful, yes, but also deeply cruel, a tyrant.
And interestingly, this tyrant is actually related by blood to a key figure. He's the brother of Princess Devaki, a noble figure herself. And the narrative really zeroes in on one specific, incredibly fateful day, Devaki's wedding day. She's marrying Vasudeva.
Yeah, you can almost picture it. The wedding's done, and Kamsa himself may be trying to look good initially.
Yeah.
He's driving the chariot for the newlyweds. It seems like a moment of celebration, but, it's about to take a very sharp turn.
Absolutely. As they're traveling, something pretty extraordinary happens high above them. The sources describe this well. Divine voice, booming, thundering from the sky, a celestial message, and it's aimed right at Kamsa.
And the message itself is just stark, terrifyingly specific. It basically tells him his end is coming, directly to him. "O Kamsa, the eighth son born to Devaki will be your destroyer."
Wow. Yeah, and that single line, it just ignites this intense, overwhelming fear in him instantly. The sources really emphasize how it just consumes him, changes absolutely everything in that moment.
Consumed is definitely the word. His reaction is immediate.
Yeah.
And brutal, right there in the chariot, completely driven by this fear, this prophecy. He pulls out his sword. He's ready to kill his own sister, Devaki, right then and there, just to stop it from happening.
And that's when her husband, Vasudeva, steps in. He makes this desperate plea, begs Kamsa to spare her life. And according to these accounts, Kamsa does agree to spare her, but, it comes with this chilling bargain. The sources call the agreement cunning. He says Devaki can live if Vasudeva promises him something huge. To hand over every single child born to them.
Every child. And what happens next is, even more tragic, isn't it? Because despite that promise, that agreement, the sources tell us Kamsa doesn't really let them go free. Not at all. Instead, he imprisons both of them, Devaki and Vasudeva, locks them away in the palace dungeons.
Yeah, locked away, and the heartbreak just keeps coming child after child. As Devaki gives birth, Kamsa enforces his cruel bargain in the most, horrific way imaginable. The narratives actually detail him personally taking each newborn infant and killing them with his own hands.
6 babies.
6 innocent children met that same awful fate directly by him.
It's a level of cruelty that's just hard to fully comprehend. But the material we're looking at adds another layer, right? It suggests his actions weren't only about that immediate fear from the prophecy.
Precisely. If you look deeper into the context the sources give us, Kamsa wasn't just reacting in that moment. He was, you could say, operating under a cloud he'd already created. His tyranny, all his sins, that apparently already earned him curses, prophecies of his downfall from various sages, devout people. So while he was desperately trying to defy this specific prophecy about Devaki's son, the narrative kind of implies that destiny, maybe set in motion by his own past actions and those earlier curses, was, already unfolding anyway. He couldn't really stop it.
So it's less fear made him cruel, and more like his cruelty was already setting him on a path, and the prophecy just pinpointed the end.
That seems to be the sense you get from these accounts, yeah. It was part of a bigger pattern leading to an inevitable end.
And this whole terrible drama, the sources say it wasn't happening in a vacuum. It wasn't going unnoticed.
Not at all. The perspective then shifts up to the divine realm. We learn that the gods, they were watching all this. the darkness, the suffering under Kamsa, his actions against Devaki and Vasudeva.
And from that cosmic viewpoint, Lord Vishnu, the preserver, right? He makes this huge decision. It's described right there in the sources.
Yeah.
The time had come. He needed to descend to Earth, an avatar.
And this divine descent, as the material explains it, it has this clear dual purpose. One, to protect the innocent, the righteous people suffering under Kamsa, and two, ultimately, to destroy the evil that Kamsa represents.
Okay, so even in the middle of all this despair, the loss of 6 children, the story gives us a little glimmer of hope, doesn't it? Some divine intervention before the main arrival. The 7th child born to Devaki and Vasudeva, that was Balarama.
Right, Balarama. And he is saved, but in this really remarkable mystical way. The sources describe him being sort of miraculously transferred from Devaki's womb right into the womb of Rohini, who was another of Vasudeva's wives.
Wow, okay. So that kept him safe from Kamsa.
Exactly, kept him out of Kamsa's murderous reach.
And that transfer, it really builds the anticipation. You know, after 6 deaths and 1 miraculous escape, all eyes, narratively speaking, are on the birth of the 8th child.
Absolutely. And this 8th child, well, the sources are very clear. This is the one, the divine incarnation himself. He's the one whose arrival was prophesied, the one awaited to end the suffering, the fulfillment.
And the account specifically says that the story of that birth, the actual moment he arrives, what happens right after, well, that's for the next part of our exploration.
So, wrapping up what we've unpacked just in this foundational part, it's quite dramatic, isn't it? You've got this cruel king, Kamsa, driven by fear, this terrifying prophecy aimed at his own family, his brutal reaction, the killing of 6 children, and underpinning it all, this sense that his own past actions, his tyranny, had already sealed his fate in a way, attracting curses and setting destiny in motion. All watched by the gods who then decide, okay, it's time for Vishnu to intervene.
Yeah, this opening section, it's definitely more than just, ancient mythology setup. It really establishes this monumental conflict, doesn't it? Tyranny versus destiny, darkness versus this impending divine light. It really makes you understand why the arrival was so necessary, so awaited. It wasn't just a birth. It was positioned as salvation.
And thinking about how the sources present it, you have Kamsa trying so desperately, so cruelly to fight the prophecy, to exert his will. Yet at the same time, the narrative insists destiny was already rolling forward against him. It kind of leaves you with this powerful question, doesn't it, pulled right from these accounts. In a story like this, how do those two things interact? Kamsa's fierce attempt at free will, his choices. How does that clash with, or maybe even, paradoxically, help bring about what's presented as this unavoidable fate?
It's a fascinating tension right from the get-go. And like you said, this material points directly towards what comes next, maybe the most famous part. The midnight birth, the miracle escape. That's what truly ignites a legend we know. Definitely a deep dive for another time.